Today on our 2017 GMC Terrain, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-156-25.
Have you ever flat towed your vehicle before and you get to your destination and you find out that your towed vehicle battery is dead? Well, that's where our charge line is going to come into play. While we're flat towing our Terrain, our RV is actually going to send a signal into our 6-way connector here, which is going to charge our battery, making sure that once we get there, we can drive around. It's going to provide 15 amps so that we're not going to overcharge our battery, and it'll connect to either a 6 or a 7-way connector at the front of your towed vehicle. It's going to come with all the wire and hardware necessary to get everything in place. Now, for our kit to work, you are going to have a charge line coming from your RV. Now, if your RV or motorhome doesn't have one, you can pick one up on our website using part number RM-156-75. Now, our charge line is going to get its power from our RV through our connector on the front of our vehicle. So we're going to need to remove this connector so we can get access to the terminals on the back. So we can pull the screws holding it in place. We're going to need to remove the dust cover. So if we pull the dust cover back and we looked at the back of our plug here, the center pin is going to be for the auxiliary charge port. So we can go ahead and loosen that terminal. But first, we're going to take our wire and we're going to strip back some of the insulation. So we can loosen up the set screw and we can put our wire inside. Now, I do want to mention, when you put this into the terminal, you want to make sure that you're just getting the wire and that the insulation isn't getting inside, because that sometimes causes problem with some connection issues. So we can tighten that up, and then we're going to take the other end of our wire and we're going to feed it through the back of our dust cover and pull all the slack out. Now, it's always a good idea to put a little bit of dielectric grease inside the connector, inside the dust cover here, to help keep out some of the moisture and hopefully prevent any corrosion buildup. Now, if you need some dielectric grease, you can pick some up on our website using part number 11755. So we can reinstall the boot and take a little bit of electrical tape and put it on both ends to help secure it and to hopefully help any moisture from getting inside of there. You're going to grab your split wire loom here, and we're going to start feeding our wire into it, not only to help protect our wire, but also so we don't have to see this bright red wire behind our grill or through our bumper. So you just want to feed it all the way through until you can reach the wire on the other end. To keep my wire loom secure, I'm just going to put a little bit of tape around the end of my wire and the loom. Now, we are going to have to get the end of our wire here up to our battery. So to help us out with that, we're going to go underneath the hood and we're going to be using a pull wire. We're going to have 3 push pin fasteners holding this plastic panel in place. I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver. There's going to be a small notch on each one of those clips. We're going to come underneath the center section, pop that out first, which will take the tension off, and then we can take the rest of the clip out. And we're going to do that for all 3 on this side. With all the clips removed, we can go ahead and lift up on the panel and fold it back towards the windshield so it's nice and out of the way. Now, to get our wire up, I'm going to be taking a piece of Airline tube, and you can use whatever you have available, even if it's just a coat hanger. I'm going to be going down in between the front grille here and the core support, feeding it down so I can reach up to my wire. Now, my pull wire did come out right in the opening here. I do want to mention I did have to reach in with my hand and grab the wire to get it to come out where I wanted it to. So now we can take our red wire. I'm going to slide it into my Airline tube for a little bit extra peace of mind so I won't lose it. I'm going to take a little bit of tape. I'm going to tape my loom to my pull wire and start pulling it up to the engine bay. And once we have all the slack pulled up, we can remove our pull wire. Now, we're going to need to attach this wire to our battery, but we're going to have a breaker that we're going to need to install first. So we need to find a location for our breaker that's going to be nice and out of the way, but fairly close to our battery. So here's our breaker, and we're going to have 2 posts, 1 copper post and 1 silver post. And the copper post on the bottom, it's kind of hard to see, but it's going to say BAT for battery. the silver AUX for auxiliary. Now, typically you would think that the battery terminal side would go to the battery, but since we're treating our RV as a battery that's going to be charging our vehicle, the wire coming from our connector on the front is going to go to the battery terminal, and then the silver post is going to go to the battery on our vehicle. Now right here on the core support is going to be a great spot to mount it because it's underneath where the hood's going to sit and it's not going to interfere with anything. They do provide us with some self-tapping screws, and I'm going to be screwing it into the core support using a 5/16 nut driver. Once we have one started, we'll go ahead and put the other one in place as well. You're going to want to route the wire over to our breaker over here. Now you may have to go underneath the computer box support right here. And then we're going to want to estimate about how much wire we need. So we can pull our wire out of the loom, and that should be plenty right here. And we can trim back our wire loom and strip back the end of our wire. Now we're going to want to grab one of the small ring terminals in our kit, and we're going to be crimping it onto our red wire here. Now, as I mentioned, the wire coming from the front is going to be going on the copper post on our breaker here. So we can remove the nut, slide the terminal in place, and then reinstall the nut. Now we're going to take that extra piece of red wire that we just cut off. We're going to strip one end of it, and again we're going to install one of the small ring terminals from our kit onto the end. This time we're going to be going down to the silver post and installing it on that terminal. Now this end of our wire that's coming from the silver post is going to have to go to the battery. Now our battery is underneath the computer right here, so we do have the option of removing it and connect it directly to the battery. However, if we look just behind that, we're going to have our jump post to jumpstart our vehicle right here. And our fuse panel is going to be here, and we are going to have a constant 12-volt power source, which is connected directly to the battery. So if we come to the cover, we're going to have a couple tabs, squeeze on both ends, and we can lift the cover right off. You're going to want to strip back the end of your wire, and then we're going to grab the last ring terminal, which is going to be the larger of all of them, and we're going to crimp it in place on our wire. Now we're going to want to grab a 10mm socket or wrench, and we can pull this threaded post off. Once you have it broken loose, you can unthread it by hand. And we're going to route our wire around our computer, and we can slide it over the terminal. Now I do want to mention, if you don't want to cut anything and you don't want to have to deal with the cover getting in the way, the wire is going to have to sit like this, going the same way the wire is going out, so the cover can get all the way back in place. And we can reinstall the threaded post. And once we get it hand tight, we can come back and make sure it's nice and secure with your ratchet or wrench. Using a 3/8 socket, I'm going to come back and make sure that the nuts on my breaker are nice and secure. For our wire going to our battery post here, it's not required by any means, but I'm going to take the leftover loom that we had, and I'm going to cover up the wire just so it's not so bright, kind of blend in with the rest of the factory wiring. And it'll help protect it a little bit from any of the heat coming off the engine. And we can come back with some electrical tape and secure it to the wire. I'm going to take one or a couple of the nylon ties that they give us in our kit, and I'm going to secure my wires to some factory wires so I don't have to worry about them banging around or getting damaged from anything moving. Put our fuse box cover back in place, then we can go back to the front. Finally, we can replace the screws that we took out from our plug on the front. Finally, we can line up our panel up top and replace those plastic push pins. With these, you want to push the bottom in first, and then you push the center to lock it down. And that'll finish up our look at the Roadmaster battery charge line kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-156-25.